Hey, you guys, this is Mr. Boaitey, and we are in for a treat. We have our next AVID Fireside Chat, and we'll be speaking with Tamika Edwards. And so I
Hello.
do this a little bit. I say out of full disclosure. So out of full disclosure, I do know Miss Edwards.
Full
We are friends.
disclosure.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself and just share a little bit about what she's doing, and then we'll get into the questions. Oh,
Right.
and by the way, it's her birthday today. Isn't that a treat?
And I wouldn't have it any other way than to be here
Oh,
talking with you about our work and our life and just imparting so much joy, energy, and good vibes to your
yeah.
students. So thank you so much for inviting me. So Tamika Edwards, I am a proud native of Little Rock, Arkansas, born and bred. I went to JA Fair. I graduated from high school at JA Fair, and I would always say that we were tornado safe because it was built underground. So I would always I went to Dunbar Junior High School. I went to Wakefield Elementary School. I graduated from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. I have a degree in English. I have a master's in professional and technical writing from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, as well as my law degree. But I decided to stay in Little Rock, my hometown, because I knew that I had so much more to offer. And my husband is also my high school sweetheart. So we decided to stay here to raise our children and to be close to family. And so what I do now is I work for Central Arkansas Water, which is one of the top 5 best tasting tap waters in or tap water in the country. And at
Really?
Central Arkansas Water, I'm in a new position, a newly formed position. I'm the special advisor to the CEO on diversity, equity, inclusion, and engagement. And so that's a long title, but really, I work on change management. We are in a
Mm,
time in our country where there is a reckoning, a racial reckoning. There is also an outcry from um, employees of color who are demanding equal treatment or equitable treatment, as well as inclusion in decision making within organizations. And so, my role, which I have a background in social justice, my role is to really confront those issues and to work with the CEO of the company on how we have a much a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive workplace and community.
mm.
So,
Thank you very much.
you're
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah. I loved how you put that, that it's change maker,
Hmm.
that's a wonderful way to frame that.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Miss Edwards, your first question is this. If you could give advice to your middle school self, your 12, 13, 14-year-old self, what would it be and why?
Do your homework. No, seriously. Extra reading, but not to put so much pressure on myself. There was no way for me to know my entire future at that age. And I now recognize that I should have been much more present in class. And I'm not saying that because I have a 10-year-old and I want my children to do the very same thing. But knowing what I know now, there are some things that I think some things fell through the gap. And a lot of times because I was worried about the wrong thing. Um, in pleasing individuals or trying to be perfect where perfection doesn't exist. And so I didn't take time, I think, to maybe just pay more attention and not just in the classroom, but what was going on around me, paying more attention to nature or paying more attention to reading or just being a better friend and a better listener. And so, and not getting caught up in things that the next semester wouldn't even matter. And so, not to be so hard on myself, to know that people come in and out of your life in different seasons, and that's okay. And that anyone else's insecurity is not, um, should not be my insecurity. So I needed to know myself just a little bit more. and just to kind of relax and not be so hard on myself.
Thank you.
Yeah. And not to try to
Our
fit
next
in
question
as
is,
much.
did you go to college?
Oh,
What'd you
I was
say,
just saying
ma'am?
not to fit in, not to try to fit in as much.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
are the mold, right? And not
yeah,
to be molded into someone else.
yeah. And that is such a, it's a life thing, but such a major thing in that development at
Correct.
that stage, you know what I mean? Of our experience at that age.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me ask, did you go to college? I know you mentioned at the top. So, but if
Mhm.
so, why did you go? Where did you go? And describe the experience and how it impacted your life, who you are, and what you're doing today.
Oh my goodness. So yes, went to UAPB, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, and I went to, and just to be honest, I knew that it was going to be the pathway for me to have better opportunities in the future, right? So my mother at the time did not go to college, nor did my father. My mother returned to school when, or she pursued her college degree when I was a sophomore in college. And I just knew that at the
Mm,
time it would just afford me better opportunities. And I didn't know exactly what that thing was because I didn't have it all figured out. I knew that I wanted to go to law school, and I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer, but maybe a corporate lawyer. But I really didn't know the pathway to getting there, to be honest with you. And I didn't realize that. So I
mm,
had a full paid scholarship to UAPB, but I didn't apply for the school. So when I got there, they were like, ma'am, you need to apply first so we can accept you and then you can take advantage of your scholarship. That's how little I knew about the process. I knew enough to be curious, but I just didn't know everything about financial aid or any of that. And so at some point I felt like I was at a deficit, but I was able to navigate my way. And it also taught me
mm,
that the pathway to an education is more than just the desire to want it. Like you gotta know and ask questions and not be afraid to ask questions when you don't know something, or to reach out, or even if someone rejects you, when you're reaching out, to just find someone else to ask so that you can meet your goal. But it was really important to my mom for me to go to college, and it was important because I grew up knowing that um, I didn't want to suffer. I'm just, financially, I didn't want to
mhm,
suffer. And I bought into education being the pathway for me to be helped financially and mentally, um, and all of those things. And so
mhm.
that's why I went. But now I've forgotten the rest of the questions.
Oh,
It was so deep.
well, I'll share, but what you just shared reminds me of one of our other speakers who said that education provides options.
Yeah. I
It
wanted
provides,
options.
yeah.
I just didn't want to be stuck. And part of it is because I grew up seeing so many people stuck,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I still see so many people stuck. And, folks are like, oh, you went to school for this. Yeah, because I never, ever, ever wanted to be stuck. In addition to working as a DEI professional, I'm also a licensed realtor, right? Because
Mm,
I wanted several pathways to do things, and not to be dependent on one thing or one person for my future. I wanted
hmm.
to be able to create the future that I wanted to see for myself.
Mm, that's great. So when you say that about your what was your college experience like? Did you live on campus? Did you not? I mean, what was it like?
So I lived on campus. I enjoyed living on campus. I am a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So I just had to put that out there right there. So I enjoyed my time, but even going back to knowing what my pathway needed to be, I was very focused in college because I knew that I didn't want to stay there past 4 years. My mother told me that after 4 years, she couldn't help me because she was like, I don't have any money. So once that scholarship, if that scholarship was going to run out, then you would be on your own. Fortunately, I didn't have to take any financial aid, any student loans or anything when I was in college because I had a full paid scholarship, an academic scholarship. But I was involved in everything in college. I was the president of my sorority, of course, my after I crossed, but I was also involved in the the organizations for English. I have an undergraduate degree in English, and so I was a part of those civic organizations. I was a part of other social organizations on
Mhm.
campus, making sure that I made friends and talking with people. But the one thing I always did was my work. Like that never escaped me. So I wasn't tied to a book. So I had fun. Now
Mhm.
I had fun, but I also knew why I was there, and it was to obtain my education. And I was able to strike a really good balance, I think. And I also worked while I was in college the entire
Mhm.
time. I had a part-time job, when the cell phones really started to come out. I was a sales phone representative,
Okay.
PCS in the mall. Um, and I did that. And in my last year in college, I I actually interned at the Arkansas Department of Economic Development. That's what it was
Mhm.
called at the time. And it was the first time they had ever had an intern from UAPB. And so it was starting out as a summer internship, but a couple of things my mother always instilled in me was just to do your best at whatever you were doing, to be respectful and professional, and to carry yourself, as a professional when you were there. So that summer internship turned into a year-long internship, which then led into my career in politics because I left Arkansas Economic Development um, Commission, now that's what it's called, to go work in the office of U.S. Senator Blanche Lincoln. And the
Mm.
rest is, as they say, the rest is history once I was
Mm.
able to make that leap. So I was involved, heavily involved in
Mm.
school. Academically, I excelled. I believe I graduated number 9 in my graduating class at UAPB. So academics, I mean, at the forefront. I initially majored in political science. And once my aunt asked me, if you don't go to law school immediately afterwards, what will you do? And I was like, oh Lord, I don't know. Because I really didn't even know what the majors meant, right? That's why I'm
Mhm.
saying it's really important to pay attention now,
Yeah.
because I didn't. I barely escaped going into remedial courses because I took the ACT twice and
Mhm.
like made 1 point over taking remedial courses, even though my high school education, I made very high grades.
Mhm.
And I learned later that it was a class, the ACT was something that you trained for, like you studied. I had no idea, none whatsoever.
Mhm.
So it's really important to just kind of pay attention and know what you need to do in order to get on to the pathway. I was very blessed that things worked out for me, but if I could do it over again, I would have just paid more attention to what I needed to do.
It's beautiful hearing what you're sharing. It's so in keeping with the AVID program.
Hmm.
AVID is advancement via individual determination. And
Yes.
so just hearing you, you can hear that individual determination that you
Yes.
had.
Yeah.
And also, too, the things that you're sharing about knowing, in terms of financial aid or just getting this understanding
Yeah.
of what it really means, that is something that's part of the program to like close the opportunity gap so
Yes.
that it makes you college and career ready. So you're clear,
Yes.
yes, in the academics, but also the awareness,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
And it was at college that I knew that my universe was that the universe was larger and it was
Mhm.
open to me, right? It was there that I saw a diversity in individuals from backgrounds and incomes and all of that, because where I was raised and what I did, I thought everybody else was just like me. And that opened my eyes to so many things,
Mhm.
just how other people live, how other people think, how willing they were to take risks, and what those risks afforded you, like really smart calculated risks,
Mhm.
what those things afforded you. And it was a whole new opportunity. So it wasn't just the academics that I gained, it was really life lessons that I gained from my peers.
Mhm.
It was pretty deep. Now that I
Mhm.
think back to it, and I went to an HBCU, so to be able to see so many people who look like me excel and just have different backgrounds from different states and different cultures or cultural awareness was quite interesting. Yeah.
Hmm, that's awesome. Um, what does success mean to you? Would you call yourself successful? Why or why not?
So success to me doesn't equate to any award or notoriety.
Hmm.
Success for me is being whole, right? And knowing who I am and what I'm supposed to do and when I'm supposed to do it and being perfectly okay with that. You can have a lot of people who see success as money or cars or careers or any of that. But those individuals can sometimes be extremely miserable. So, success for me is being at peace, having joy, knowing what I'm supposed to do and enjoying what I'm supposed to do. I saw a friend the other day post that you would never work a day if you enjoy what you do, right? Well, to some degree, yes, but some of what we enjoy doing requires hard work and
Yeah.
requires some challenges and some things that we have to overcome. So, being successful will not be absent of that. It really is about how you handle yourself in those challenging or difficult times, right? Where you see what you are and how you are under pressure. And so, success, joy, peace, wholeness, focus, and understanding of who you are, and and being exactly who you are supposed to be.
Mm,
Yeah,
I love that answer.
yeah.
I love how you started it by saying it is about being whole,
Whole, yes,
whole,
yes,
feeling and understand that you're complete, you're enough.
yes. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's a very powerful place.
Yes,
And you can do lots. You
that
can do
is
everything from there.
that's
You really
that's
can.
right. Yeah,
You
and
really,
even being enough doesn't mean that you don't need other people, right?
right,
But being enough means that when you need other people, you don't feel weak,
right.
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's
I love it. Okay. Being college and career ready takes grit,
mhm,
persistence,
yeah,
perseverance, not giving up, and being open to new ideas. How
yes.
did you develop or cultivate this essential skill?
I had to fail at times. And so I know that scientists don't usually see experiments as failures or when an
Hmm.
experiment doesn't work out, it's a failure. So I had various experiments, right, of learning what I needed to do and what I didn't need to do. So, for example, when I went to college and found out that I hadn't been approved, like I hadn't applied, that taught me to pay much more attention to the process. I remember when
Hmm.
I was 15 years old and I worked as a car hop at Sonic, and there were a group of gentlemen who actually stole money from me because they kept having me change out a $20 bill.
Oh,
Like, that's the oldest trick, right? Like, hey, give me change, but you never gave me the 20, but you just kept getting change from me. That taught me to pay. I'm telling you. And so my little car hop uh, bank deal was short $35, and I had to give that out of my tips. Always
yeah,
tip your Sonic car hop. But that told me to pay attention. There have been
yeah.
things along the way that have taught me to pay attention. And career readiness, college readiness requires you to pay attention.
Hmm.
Pay attention to the deadlines. Pay attention to what people are asking you to bring. Pay attention to, spacing out your time so that you can meet the deadline, so that you answer the question. All of those things matter, and those are not necessarily things that we're taught in school all the time, right?
Hmm.
Those are the skills of making sure that when you mess up, you admit that you've messed up, but next time you take what that mess up is and build on it so you don't make the same mistake.
Hmm.
And that's what this entire process taught me, especially not having a background or parents who went to college who had to
Yeah.
navigate it. I had to navigate it.
Hmm.
And once I figured out some things, I was at the financial aid office for my scholarships every semester. I read my bill fully. I understood what every fee and everything was. And when they would overcharge me, I would take my little paper up there and say, this is an overcharge. And they would recognize the mistake. So I became very detail oriented because the
Hmm.
details mattered on my journey.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. It's I was just thinking about that when you said that about paying attention. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've heard anyone put it in those terms just like that, but paying attention and
Ooh,
just from the documentation or to what's going on around you, what people are
yeah.
saying, that is so key,
Yes.
and that is a skill, isn't it?
Yes. And yes, and something you have to sharpen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's like having a quick reaction. You think of one of your best basketball players or football players or anyone who's in the sports or in the arts. They're paying attention to
Yeah.
details and not recognizing that those skills will transfer over to everything. I played clarinet when I was in junior high school. I believe that musical skill helped me to tune in to things and hear not the loud resounding, but that small piece. I can hear that. And it taught me to observe what was happening with my fellow chairs, right? Because they were having to
Mm-hmm.
play a different note and I had to stay
Mm-hmm.
focused. So, paying attention can really help you in life or death. I mean, it could be a life or death situation in paying attention or getting ahead or staying behind.
Mm-hmm.
It is just that important
Mm.
to pay attention.
What I love too in your sharing is, all of our situations are unique. And
Hmm.
I appreciate you sharing that too, that both your parents did not.
Correct.
You were the first one,
Hmm.
and and even with that, you were able to go forward. In fact, your mother went while you were in,
That's
but
right.
still just to make that initiative to just, hey,
Mhm.
this is something that I know will serve me
That's right.
and march in that direction.
That's right. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes taking the first step is what makes it easier, right?
Yeah.
I talk a lot about practicing courage. A
Yeah.
lawyer practices law, and he or she practices law because it is something that's always evolving and you got to stay on top of it, and you learn to do better as you practice. A doctor practices medicine. It's not
Mm-hmm.
that they automatically go in and know it. And so I practice courage every day, and that courage doesn't mean that I'm the loudest one all the time. The courage means that I'm willing to do something that I'm sometimes scared to do or very uncomfortable to do, but I know that in doing it I grow, right? So I knew that I may not have known everything about school, but or how to get there, but just taking just being courageous enough to take the step. I was in it, so I needed to learn what was happening. And sometimes we can't allow the fear to overcome us so much that we won't just move forward. Like we won't just ask that question in class if we
Mm-hmm.
don't understand what a problem
Mm-hmm.
is for fear of looking stupid. Who cares? It's your
Yeah.
future, nobody else's, right? It is that step of once you do it, you're like, well, I mean, I may as well ask, or I may as well go because it's going to help me get to a better place. It's really going to help me be who I know that I'm supposed to be.
Mm. Hmm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our last question.
Ooh,
Is there anything else you'd like to say to scholars who'll be watching this?
be, breathe, and just know who you are.
Yeah.
Like, breathe. It feels like the world is on your shoulders and that the burdens of life, like you have to be the best friend or the coolest person or all of those things. But be enough and breathe and know that it's okay not to know everything. And as our seasoned individuals would say, just keep on living. Like
Mm.
life really gets better, but every decision that we make today is going to determine how close or how far we get away from our goal, right? And so I have a sticky on my desk
Mm.
that asks me, is the decision or what you're doing right now, is that going to get you closer or further away from your goal? Like, really, how are we going to get there? And so, just be present and be thoughtful and exist.
Mm.
And if you're tired, go to sleep.
I
I
know
mean,
that's
I mean, because sometimes your little brain just ain't gonna really do all of that. Take a nap and come back to it. But envision who you want to be in the lifestyle that you want to have and pursue it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like I knew I wanted options, but I didn't ever focus on being rich. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you pursue options, you're going to pursue various paths of income just automatically.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not saying that I'm rich, so I don't need any recordings talking about I'm bragging about I ain't saying that.
No, and it wasn't
Rich
taken
on
that way.
life.
Yeah.
Rich
Yeah.
on life.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
seriously, just it's fun being who I am. And I think had I known that early on, there are more things that I would have done had I just gone ahead and settled on that. That I'm fine with being who I am. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, it's wonderful. I really appreciate you taking the time out to share with us. Um, you guys, I know you got a lot of wonderful nuggets from Miss Edwards, and so maybe in the spring you might be able to meet her live. You know, maybe
Yes.
Let's see how things go. Right, right.
That'll be
Um,
great.
but thank you so much.
You're
This has been a
welcome.
treat.
Yeah,
Thank you
you're
so
welcome.
much.
This has been great for me too, and I appreciate you for inviting me.
Thank you. You guys, so then we will connect on our next Fireside Chat. All right.